I knew from the moment he walked through my door he was no good, a liar, so wrapped up in his own falsehoods he had fooled himself. Those were the type of clients that found their way to my office, but I had a job to do. Why don't you come in, make yourself comfortable? You can take a seat right there. Would you like a smoke? No. That's just fine. Can I get you something to drink? I've got some redemption bourbon. I can pour you a glass if you'd like. Just a little. You got it. How would you like that? Neat? Sure. Go right ahead. Enjoy. So I suppose we should move on and get on to business, shouldn't we? Why don't we begin by you telling me your name? Is that right? And how long exactly has your wife been missing? And her name? Can you tell me her maiden name as well? And how long have you two been married? Okay. Now you've said it's been 10 days since you've last seen your wife. And you're certain that she hasn't run off with someone? A lover, a friend? There's no reason to get upset. Why don't you take another sip of your bourbon? Just relax for the moment. It's my job here to make sure we cover all the bases. Now, I believe you hired a private investigator. Was that a year ago? Now, did they find anything? Was your wife having an affair? Don't worry about how I know about all this. You see, that's my job. You hired me because I'm the best detective in this side of town. So you're just going to have to let me do my job. So it turned out your wife wasn't having an affair. Well, isn't that good? But now it seems that your wife's been missing. Now, have you been through her closet, her things? Okay. All her clothing, her shoes, her suitcases, all her hat boxes, still intact, okay? Now, may I ask, why do you suspect there's foul play? I see. Your wife's very beautiful. And men have been jealous of you and your wife. Could you remind me of your address? That's a very nice neighborhood, isn't it? Could you remind me of your job again? I see. And how long have you worked for that family? Your grandfather started the company with their grandfather, okay. So I imagine a man like you in that line of work has made quite a few enemies. Now tell me, have you received any threats from anyone? A letter? Do you have that letter with you? It went missing. Well, that's rather convenient, isn't it? Oh no, I'm not accusing you of anything. Don't you worry. I'm just trying to collect all the facts. Like I said, that's my job. And that's why you're here, isn't it? Now tell me, this letter, you received it about 6 months ago. And did it mention your wife at all? No. So why is it that you believe it's related? Now, if I may say so, it seems to me that you believe that your wife's being held against her will in a hostage type situation. But you haven't received any sort of demands. No. There's no reason to get upset. Like I said, I'm the best in the business. And I will find your wife. Or at the very least, I'll find out what happened to her. You look like you're getting upset. Why don't I just pour you a little more whiskey? Drink up. Now, you said it's been 10 days since you've seen your wife. Was that in the evening, or it was about 8 a.m. as you were leaving for the day? Now, you said you have 2 sets of cars, and neither of them were missing. Okay. Now, according to my records, it looks like you got into a little trouble with the law. Is that right? Oh, yes. 7 years ago. That was a long time ago. What I find interesting is I have a lot of redacted files. Like I said, don't you worry about how I got this information. That's my job. Now, this isn't the first time you've been married, isn't that right? Yes, you married your high school sweetheart right after graduation. Oh, yes. She was a pretty little thing. She passed away, though, just a few years. Well, you do have my deepest condolences. It looks like she died, though, in very unusual circumstances. Isn't that right? Yes, a car accident. And she was by herself, isn't that right? Mm-hmm. Now, I only bring this up because, according to my records, your ex-wife, she couldn't drive. She didn't have a license. So, how did she wind up in that car? Oh, that's why she crashed, because she couldn't drive. Interesting. Well, the thing is, when I went to pull up the forensics files, that was redacted as well. Just like your record of the trouble you got into 7 years ago. Well, I have a speeding ticket here, and then I have a lot of files that seem to be missing. Now, let's be honest. You and I both know how the world works. A man with your money and your connections, well, trouble and crime doesn't really stick to you, does it? I'm just speaking the truth. Oh, it's related to your wife, don't worry. So, you got remarried to your lovely wife, and you've been together for quite some years. But now she's missing. And you want me to find out what happened to her. Are you sure you don't want me to just come up with a nice, neat report to give to the police chief and clear all up this problem? No, I'm not accusing you of anything. Did you want a little more bourbon? Here. Bottoms up. Now, why is it that you've come to me, a private detective, instead of going to the police force, which seems to have worked with you all these years? Oh, I understand. The police chief died last year, and his son took over. And his son is very straight-laced, isn't that right? Well, I'm not accusing you, or the police department, or the police chief of anything. But I will say this town is known to have a corruption streak. Money buys a lot of things, including silence. But it looks like the current police chief, he's very straight-laced and by the books. Now, why wouldn't you want to go to someone like that? You don't think he'll do a good job? Well, that's fair. That's fair. No worries. I've almost got all the information I need. So your wife, your beautiful second wife, is missing for 10 whole days. In the police department, you don't trust them. You don't trust they'll take care of things for you. And you just want your pretty wife to come home. And that private investigator, they never found anything about your wife having an affair. Well, I only ask because the young man who she supposedly was having an affair with, that you had followed those 6 months back, well, a few months ago he disappeared too. Now, rumor has it he just moved on out, went to the west side, to sunny California, to seek fortune there. And yet no one's heard or seen of him since. That's pretty interesting, isn't it? Well, listen, I think I've got to gather enough facts, or your truth, as it were, to start a proper investigation. Yes, I would say we're done here for today. Don't you worry about getting in touch with me. I'll get in touch with you. Oh, you'll most certainly hear from me. And I don't want you to worry. I'll get to the bottom of this. Oh, I'll find your wife. And I can guarantee you, justice will be served. Now, why don't you get out of my office and let me get to work?